Hip-hop moments of clarity.
Hip-hop moments of clarity.
What's up? This is Vanessa, editor-in-chief of XXL, back for episode 7 of Moments of Clarity podcast. This week our lineup is a little different with guests. Wayno is not with us as usual because he sucks. And we have Sowmya here, who is going to introduce herself and also tell us a little bit about the podcast for XXL that she hosts, Shot Caller. So also we have JFK, Roger, and Barry.
Yep.
And Sowmya, you want to do a little intro?
Sure. So I'm Sowmya, oftentimes sitting in for Wayno. I think that could be a part-time job.
Same birthday.
Same birthday, so love him and very happy to sit in for him. So I'm a journalist, contributor to XXL. You can check out my work in the current cover, the G-Eazy interview. And in addition, host Shot Callers, also engineered by Jabari here, so keeping it in the family. And we interview behind-the-scenes influencers, executives, tastemakers, and basically everyone you need to know that's important in the hip-hop industry.
And then we got JFK, Roger, and Barry. As
Right.
usual. All right, so they know who you are. So we're going straight into the topic today, which is, I guess, we're just going all female rapper stuff. You have the Zane Lowe interview with Nicki Minaj, which I thought was pretty informative and seemed like a pretty open and honest interview. Then we have 2 new Nicki songs. We have Nicki speaking candidly on the relationship with Cardi, since we also have, I guess, since we last spoke, a Cardi album and a Cardi baby on the way. And yeah, what are your guys' thoughts off bat? Because it seems like Nicki did a interview today and spoke pretty openly about things, and Twitter blew up.
I loved it. I feel Nicki is someone who doesn't do a lot of interviews. She usually very much is strategic, right? When she talks, who she speaks to. And I think this showed a very human side of her, which I really liked. I mean, there were the usual questions that you're going to get, but I think, to me, the highlight is when she spoke about her relationship with Cardi, and just sort of that perceived feud, and you could hear her literally crack in her voice, and it sounded like she was crying. And I think to see Nicki kind of exhibit that human side of her, it was refreshing. I think for the fans and also just for the industry. Like, by and large, I feel there's been kind of like this Nicki hatred, and especially every time a new female comes on the scene, it's so easy to sort of, everyone rallies behind that person. So it was kind of cool to see that Nicki's a real human person, and she knows what people say about her. She's reading what social media is saying, and it affects her. It was cool to see that for me.
I think it was really well planned in the PR side of things. I mean, you dropped the songs. Let's not forget, she dropped the songs, which technically is Cardi's week, right? So Cardi drops her album on Friday. It's the whole week to be her first week sales. She's announced her baby. She's had all this press and everything. And Nicki comes in. I mean, there's nothing not intentional about making it Nicki Day and Nicki this and Nicki that, and taking over today and even yesterday, posting and coming back off of social. So the plotting and planning can't be dismissed. And then on top of that, the approach with who they chose to go to, everything about it for the interview, they knew exactly what everybody was going to ask. She knew exactly what to be prepared for, but I think that she didn't dodge the questions. I think she spoke on them. Yeah, and I think that probably was the best way to play it. Like, shout out to Joe Carosa, shout out to, Republic for putting that all together with her.
Remember, she shout out Jimmy Iovine. She's like, I sat down with Jimmy, and he heard the whole album. So between the music, the rollout, and I think she mentioned she's doing a documentary with Apple.
Well, he said she was a marketing genius, and she was like, well, I want to be just more than just posting pictures on social. But I think it comes, we're ready for the Nicki, we're ready for all that. Now, I think what we're trying to avoid, maybe we can't, is it Nicki versus Cardi? Is that messed up? Is that what it really is? I mean, if you have Nicki coming out on Cardi's week, she does have some sort of beef with her. We always pit the women against each other. Is that messed up, or is there a Nicki versus Cardi thing going on right now?
I don't know. I don't see it as that. I mean, I think people are gonna naturally like pit them against each other just because of the
because they're both women
from New York.
I mean,
from New York, the
New
two
York.
female MCs from New York. Yeah,
and I feel like what Nicki said about the situation was.
You want to read us what she said? Let's see. So what she said, JFK. What were some of Cardi's comments? So what were some of Nicki's comments on Cardi?
So Nicki said the only thing with Cardi that really, really, really hurt my feelings was the first interview she did after Motorsport came out. I remember when I first came in the game, if a female of that stature had done a feature with me on it, I would only be singing their praises and saying thank you. The first interview that she did after Motorsport came out, it just really hurt me because she looked so aggravated and angry, and the only thing she kept saying was, oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that verse. I was like, what? So, I mean, you know, I think looking at that, you can see that, you know, she does feel a certain way about how Cardi, like, allowed the narrative of, like, a Cardi and Nicki beef. But I think also she left the door open in a way for them to squash that, you know, whatever that is. It wasn't, you know, she didn't come at it like, fuck Cardi and, you know.
No, but and to go further, it says, with Motorsport, I kind of felt ambushed. At the time, I was on Twitter and explained how Motorsport came about, and people were saying that I was lying. So I texted Quavo and I said, hey, could you back me up on this? She shared, can you back me up on this? Because I don't want people to think I'm lying. What do I have to lie about? And he didn't back me up. He texted me. He was like, I would go on Twitter and back you up if you were my girl, LOL. And that hurt because he's somebody, I love him. So I think that it's a little deeper than just feeling violated that there wasn't somebody who didn't pay her homage. I think she then felt a little personally attacked. Even though Quavo's not Offset, being from the same group, I think she felt like people turned on her.
Right.
She probably had that relationship with Quavo way before Cardi got in the picture, and you know, obviously, you know, she felt a certain way when, especially when the song came out and the way
she says, "I hurt my feelings to know people would watch me be slaughtered, and not one person will step in to say the truth. They allow people to run with the lie because it's entertaining to make Nicki seem the bad guy." Like the bad guy. I think that's true.
It's very
I think
true.
people have lied to
Definitely.
make like her the bad guy for the past year, for everything that's gone on. We've created her into this position of being, she's not the underdog that can't achieve anymore. She's not, she's this chick over there who's labeled all sorts of different things, but put onto this weird part of things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could understand why she feels attacked, but what was the video that came out earlier? That from what was dug up that was early?
So there was some videos. Someone put together a thread on Twitter, and it showed a few different times where Cardi did acknowledge Nicki and she calls her a legend in one of them. She says how she would want to work with her. So she did sort of show, you know, praise and respect and admiration for her in the past. Maybe Nicki's not aware of those. You know, I guess that's unclear, but...
The question, too, is what's the responsibility, right? Because I think in hip-hop, we always talk about, like, you pay respect to the OGs, and you feel right now the culture, there's this whole idea of the new generation does not pay homage to the people that came before them. What's the responsibility of a new artist? Like, do you just perpetually kiss the ring and say, I'm such a fan, I love you, I'll do anything to work with you? Or is part of being a new artist coming into your own? And maybe that means just finding who you are. And in every interview, does Cardi have to name check Nicki? The same way in every Nicki interview was it expected that she name check Lil' Kim or Foxy or Eve. I just don't know what that responsibility is.
Well, that's something you tweeted today and kind of connected to that, is that there's plenty of rappers over there mimicking each other out there, and they don't have to talk about each other in every interview. Why do these ladies in particular? But you just have two of them, I guess, that are at this stature. So, and hip-hop's always had the mentality to put the women against each other. That's always been the case. You know, we're trying to avoid that with this podcast and just discuss, should it be that or what else should it be? But no matter what, Nicki didn't come out and say, hey, nothing, I've got nope, everything's great. She said that she had respect for her and all the females out there and appreciate them, but then she had some issues about things. And I feel like she's entitled to have those things and speak on them. I think we're coming from like a personal place. Like she felt, I lost some of my friends over this. I lost some of the people that I was cool with over this, especially like where she's had a very rough year.
Yeah.
I mean, the public stuff that she's dealt with, the breakup, the stuff with her brother, everything about it. That's when you want to know who's in your corner. So how deep does it go of who she realized wasn't in her corner? And here comes this new artist who hasn't accomplished as much of her, hasn't really faced the adversity to the degree in the music industry that she had, having to be down with two crews early on and fight for the respect that she's earned at this point, really being the 20th century or the 21st century version of the hip-hop, the most relevant hip-hop female. It's been so many years. So she's faced a lot of adversity, accomplished a lot. I don't know if there'd be a Cardi without a Nicki right now. And then she obviously feels like, I didn't do anything to you, and everybody jumped ship.
Yeah, but that's a bigger issue with the industry, right? If she feels like whether it be Quavo or whomever wasn't in her corner, that's just indicative of how people move in hip hop, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Go
'cause I-
figure. So and so's not
Whatever's
in your corner.
hot, I'm with that.
Exactly, and I think many artists have seen that, right? Especially in the age of social media, you'll see artists not speak on things or be like weirdly silent because they think of their potential deals and conversations that could be compromised. Like that, we feel that now, like, you know, more so like in the 90s, 2000s, your crew was your crew. And it was expected you would die for them, sometimes quite literally.
Which
And
is what
now
they
it's-
tried to show us with Wayne and Birdman and her calling up today and all that and the Cash Money thing and a little bit of that. Like, no matter what, through thick and thin, we've stayed together.
Yeah, and maybe that is because Birdman and Slim and Wayne come from a different era where loyalty just had a different definition. I think now artists change crews like based on the week, right? People who were enemies are tagging each other on Instagram, and it's just different, right? And a lot of times too, you have artists who've never met who'll do full albums together. So that's my man, that's my brother.
Right.
You've never met this person, you know? It's just a different level, I think, now, what loyalty. And again, I've never met Nicki, so I can't speak on it. V, I think you could definitely speak more to this, but I think she just comes from a different era. When someone is in your corner, it means something. And a lot of this funny style shit, I think, just rubs her the wrong way. And I'd probably feel the same way personally, but I think it's just indicative of our
when Cardi came out,
culture.
I don't know about you guys. When Cardi came out, the only communication to me was everybody thought that Nicki was over and it was all about Cardi, and they couldn't both exist.
Right.
And Nicki's
100%.
gone, and Nicki's gone, and Nicki's gone, and it was so easy to act like there was a new queen, and there could only be one queen. I mean, there can only be one queen, I guess, obviously, in one country. But
just off of one song too.
Just
The
off of one
comparisons
song, yeah.
Of Bodak Yellow. Once Bodak Yellow was out of here, the comparisons were there, and I'm like, you can't
Right.
compare.
It's one
Like
song.
she got a catalog, you know.
But then also, like, Nicki hasn't even gone completely silent last year either.
Right.
Like, she was on record. She had a hit with Yo Gotti last year. She was on Motorsport 2. She was on a few different things. So it was a little interesting to see people act like, oh, she's gone, out of sight, out of mind, you know?
But I think that also speaks to women, right? Because I think with women, youth in any industry is placed at a premium.
True.
So being the young, hot, like flavor of the moment, there's an excitement. Whereas a guy, when he
why?
gets
Because
older,
she's
he's
25 and
distinguished.
she's 35.
I mean, and age
She
can,
still looks good.
age can
What are
be
we talking?
perceived,
Yeah.
right? It could just be,
Right.
you know, that you've been around. Like for a man, you're distinguished, you're a veteran. The female version of that is you're an old hag. So there's a lot of the gender conversation here, right? Like Wayne
But I think it
existed.
goes back to men too nowadays too with social media.
Yeah.
Even if you're 35, you're an old rapper, right?
That I mean, that's a very
Yeah.
interesting point where maybe people of a certain age feel like age is against them. But I feel a lot of those guys haven't put out a body of work, like JFK said, that's been pretty consistent, right? That she's dropping records, and more than anything, like you can't discount her work, right? She was on American Idol.
Right.
Like what rapper's doing that, you know? And that's the thing, is she's done things in fashion and the beauty industry that other rappers have not done. And I feel like it just became very easy. Okay, Cardi is this underdog. Everyone's rooting for her. And for Cardi to exist, Nicki can't. I don't think it's one or the other.
Right.
Shouldn't
You
be
know?
that
And they also, like, I think there's similarities between the two of them. Maybe, you know, both being from New York and some of their image and things like that. But musically, I think you get two different things from Nicki and from Cardi.
Totally.
Which is the weird thing about, like, feeling like one can exist and one can't. I think even judging off of the two songs that came out, Chun-Li and Barbie Tingz, like, you can tell that you're not going to get those records from Cardi. Like,
Yep.
No.
you're not going to get her spitting like that. You're not going to get her, you know, with lyrics that, you know, that way. It's just different.
I think one thing, too, Nicki mentioned the interview, which I thought was interesting, is she just feels artistically she's not respected the way she feels she should be. So she spoke about writing all her rhymes, co-producing, and she said some version of, you know, this idea that women have to be in a studio with a bunch of men. No, I can go in the studio with my engineer and come out with a hit. And I think that's important, right? The thing about Nicki, and I've always said this, and I'm not a Barb by any stretch of the imagination, she's like can go head to head with any male rapper. Like
Absolutely.
they
Absolutely.
always throw her up
Absolutely.
against every female rapper, and I get it, you know, but go back and listen to Monster. Like, she
fire.
out-rapped some of the best rappers of all time. You know what I'm saying? And she not just held her own, she will steal songs from you. And she showed that time and again. So I think that still, it feels like from the interview, it bothers her. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's not sitting there being compared to Wayne and Jay and Kendrick and Cole. It's, okay, we'll compare you to this very specific group of people.
Right. I even remember, like, when, in, what was this, 2013, when Kendrick did his Control verse. And, you know, he mentioned a bunch of people, and she wasn't one of them. And it's like, come on. I mean...
And men do it too, right? Because in their mind, you don't compare me to a girl, right? No, you compare me to another guy. And it's like, but Nicki can go head to head with any of them. But one thing that I will say, I had a little bit of a beef. She mentioned that Wayne took her aside recently and said, you're just as good as me. And she's like, no, I can never be as good as you. And to me, I understand that's her mentor. But I'm like, yes, you are as good as him. I would argue that you are better than him, you know?
In 2018?
Yeah, but even in general,
right.
if we take a step back, with Nicki at her best, Wayne at his best, they could go head to head. So I also don't think she needs to necessarily sort of put her head down either. And I know as women, just kind of across the board, a lot of times we're taught that. Like, okay, don't ask for too much, put your head down, be humble. Guys aren't humble. They'll have one record on SoundCloud and say they're the new Tupac. So if you're Nicki Minaj, you can go head to head with anyone in the game. And quite frankly, you're probably better than like 99% of them.
One thing we haven't really touched on the two records. But one thing that I think is interesting is like her being so vulnerable in the interview. And then the songs are like, she's coming at someone's head, you know, like she's...
It's the opposite, right?
Because she's on it, and it gives, I think, a good balance.
That's a good catch, and I'm with it. I feel that. I'm like, you got open in the interview, but you're giving us the hard shell for everything else.
Right.
And I think for me, it works.
Exactly.
I don't want to hear that on I don't want to hear that on the song.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to hear like a sappy...
No,
like...
I want to hear the interview and beyond, and then I want to hear whatever she puts in the song.
Right.
I mean, if she dedicated a whole song to all of this stuff, it's a different story, you know?
Right.
And
you
can
know,
we just
maybe
talk about her
album.
rapping? Like, she sounds so good.
Oh, Barbie Tingz is
fire.
fire.
She's like, her flow is great. She's in her element. And she sounds so good. And to me, that can go up against any record by any rapper right now.
Well, that was the pressure Nicki created, right? So if you're going to come out this week, if you're going to fuck up Cardi's week, if you're going to... That's an aggressive move no matter what that you made even doing that. If you're going to not wait till she goes on maternity leave and has a baby and, you know, fill that lane.
Is there maternity leave in hip-hop, Vanessa?
There's something where she's going to be in a bed laid up in the house and something like out of commission a little bit, I think, right? You know, she's not going to be, I don't know.
You can write rhymes horizontally.
But during that time period that, you know, get to know your baby time period, I guess, like, right? That whole I just had a child time period that she could have come then. But there's definitely an aggressive statement to where she came this week. So once she started to announce, I've been off social for this amount of time. I'm about to drop this week. The music better be good or the fall or the fuck up would have been that much bigger.
And she had that big rollout, right? Like you mentioned, there was the hashtag Nicki Day. Apple was fully behind it, putting all of their resources behind it.
I woke up first thing this morning, looked at Twitter. I was like, it's Nicki Day. That's what's trending. Yeah. It's like 7:30 in the morning or something. I'm like, okay, so it's trending at 7:30. How long is it going to trend for?
Now, what I want to know...
at 6, it's still trending.
It's also Grilled Cheese Day, in case anyone's wondering. It is.
I think, okay. Well, there you go.
Grilled cheese after this.
You know what I find weird, though? Drake dropped during Cardi's week, too.
Yeah.
Cardi's night.
Right, the night of the album drop.
With a Lauryn Hill sample.
With a Lauryn Hill sample. So there's, I mean, look, I like to be a conspiracy theorist. Like, I would love to feel there's a group chat with Drake, Nicki, and like Wayne being like plotting their next move, but I just feel there's no coincidences. And
there's no coincidences.
Very planned.
No. You do like a woman's anthem with a whole bunch of women in the video that night drop. Like we all know what's going on.
Right. So it's interesting, right? Like that Young Money in 2018 is kind of coming out. Like not only are we willing to quash some of our public issues for the moment, but we're still very much
I don't even think of them. You're right. I don't even think of them as Young Money, though. You're right. Yeah. I mean, that's there, right? They're all on the same. And I don't even think of them that way anymore. And it's all through
Apple. Like I also find it interesting. I don't know if any of you saw. You know, Cardi was very heavily supported by Spotify. She was on a Spotify commercial.
She's Spotify and Apple. She was playing with both of them because then you're having the Iovine conversations and the Zane Lowe thing and the beat and all that. So Yeah, I mean, there was a lineup that went here.
Yeah.
So there's like definitely some bigger conversations. You know, it wasn't just rappers dropping stuff. Like I think some.
I got your back. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I think there were some bigger names.
And the other interesting thing was the Little Uzi, the tweet from Little Uzi yesterday that was on behalf of Nicki Minaj. And
Oh,
the
yeah,
Young
yeah,
Thug
yeah.
tweet. So I'm like, oh, they're kind of gathering those squads up, you know? Migos over there with Cardi
Right.
But
B.
she talked about them today. She talked about a few of them today and say, like, there's some rappers that I love. They're like my
Yeah,
little
my
brothers.
babies,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, my babies.
Right. What do you guys
Also,
think this goes from here, though? Like,
she got to have a
what's-
fire album.
yeah.
I mean, I guess, right? We need to see videos for these songs. That's what
Right.
it is. She's
Yeah.
going to put it
I
toward
love the
together.
lyric video for the Barbie record.
Oh,
though.
yeah, that
it's
was great,
dope.
yeah.
Like I want Mattel to make that dollhouse, and then I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
like live there.
And then what's it called? She has a label.
Right.
That's
know,
what I
that's-
want to
She's
know.
out looking for producers, artists. So that's big.
And there was never too much that came out underneath Queen Bee or anything. Like, we haven't had a female rapper. First of all, we haven't had a female rapper that we've experienced their pregnancy with them on a during the prime of their,
So true.
for their career. So that's a first for hip hop to watch Cardi's whole, not the whole, but be around for the pregnancy in a way where we haven't, because Kim was a little bit older, Fox was a little bit older.
Lauren kind of,
We don't know.
right.
We weren't part of that.
we weren't part of it.
We're gonna be
part
part
of it
of this.
musically. We're part
Yeah.
of it musically.
Right.
Yeah.
We heard about it.
We heard about Zion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's
about
crazy,
Zion.
do you guys remember when Lauren, even she mentions it in the song, to Zion, is her getting pregnant? Some people view that as, okay, well, your career's over because you
Right.
are young and attractive and successful and you can't be all those things and a mom. And I think that narrative has changed because
Well,
we're
it-
seeing.
But
yeah,
you also
Cardi
have a
said,
lot
why
of
can't
those.
you have both?
Yeah.
When you look at the Kardashians, who've probably been the most public with babies lately, right?
Sure.
It's not like they're having to juggle careers, right? So while you're watching this going on, Cardi is she going to perform at Summer Jam all pregnant or not?
Right.
Does it hurt that she can't be there for Summer Jam? All of that kind of stuff. Is it going to hurt her that Nicki's going to have a run after she goes away for a little bit to do other family things?
Yeah.
Is it going to hurt because she's so early into a relationship with somebody and it's public and you're having a kid together, and what happens when everybody's weighing in on everything over and over again? So it'll just keep going. But I think the pressure for Nicki is you got to have a good album. Because
Yeah.
if it's not
Yeah.
good, then what?
That's true.
And a hit record like makes everyone a believer again. Like that's the one thing is you'll see a lot of loyalties change in hip hop, but the minute you have a hit record, everyone wants to work with you. Everyone wants to.
It wants to be your friend again.
Everyone wants to be your friend again. All of a sudden the voicemail box isn't full anymore. So that's all she needs. She has a hit record because I don't think what she dropped were hits. I think they were good comeback records. This isn't, mainstream crossover pop smashes, in my opinion.
I can see Barbie Tingz kind of playing in the hip hop stations.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
totally.
That one will play, and I love the way she came at. She was aggressive. She was throwing subliminal shots. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I really haven't heard it yet, but is it kind of like back to back in any way? If she's throwing shots like back to back, was
not back to back type.
It
of
wasn't
style.
back to
Back was like I'm gonna get kind of to the point, but not
Uh-huh.
really there. But
Okay.
this one was like subliminals,
some
little
some
jabs
subliminals
here and
that
there.
Remy,
No?
Okay.
just unnamed people, but
But we know.
you can tell. We know. We listen. hmm
I think we also found interesting stuff out about her, and we have never heard her talk about Meek and Drake.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
that
and
was
the
really
relationship there. And she said, straight up about the Drake part, that it was one of the hardest parts of my career to date, because at that time I did love both of them. And I couldn't erase the love that I had for my team, but I also couldn't speak out. I really couldn't say much. And so I felt imprisoned in the moment. And when we later spoke about it, Drake said, I wasn't worried about anything in the entire situation other than what if Nicki takes a shot at me? Then what? It was difficult to stay out of it. I was behind the scenes, of course, wishing it never happened. Even prior to it happening, I tried to stop it from happening. I said to Meek, don't do that. What do you guys think?
She's smart. She's calculated. She didn't want to step in between Meek and Drake, and I thought that was the right decision for her to make. She would have stayed with Meek. She would have been like, oh, you took an L, but now Meek. We're praising Meek because obviously he's dealing with some stuff. But yeah, she made the right move, I believe.
It's hard, though, because I agree with you, Roger. I think from a business perspective, that's probably the best thing you can do, right? You don't want to take sides that could fuck up either your money or your romantic situation. But then again, I think for women in the game, there's a different standard, right? Because I remember when this happened, so many guys in the game hitting me like, she's so disloyal. If that was my girl, I would be so angry. You know, you need to be loyal to me. And it's like, but loyalty is a two-way street, right? Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, would Meek step up for Nicki? Would Drake step up for Nicki? And I don't know the answer. And I think that's what's hard, because I think for women, especially rappers who date within the industry or date other rappers, you get this crazy responsibility. Like, his shit becomes yours. And if you're not there with his flag on your back, repping for him through thick and thin, you're not, you know, a down bitch. And now you're disloyal and you're calculated. And those are words when, you know, calculated, strategic. When it's a guy, those are positive attributes. For a woman, it makes you look like a cold-hearted bitch.
True.
You know, so I feel her, because I, you know, again, my heart would say I'd want to always, you know, protect my man 100%. But she's also protecting a business, an empire. It's not just, you know, making a decision out of emotion. It's hard. You know, I don't know. I think for women, it's just a whole different conversation. I mean, you see it with Cardi and Offset. Like, when he cheats, somehow it's her fault, right? Like, how much backlash has she taken on to stay with a man?
Well, that's the same thing with Chloe and Tristan.
100%.
Oh man.
That it's somehow like your fault, like, or it's the other woman's fault. Like, somehow the guy ends up totally like unscathed. So I don't know. I think Nicki gave a very, like, you know, honest and answer.
She shouldn't have to speak on any of this anymore.
Right.
She said everything she should have to say about it. She could move past it. She doesn't have to go do the XXL magazine interview, the so-and-so interview, the so-and-so, you know, sit down and talk about it. Like, she definitively spoke on everything that everybody was wondering on, you know, and I don't think there's anything else she has to speak on. I mean, you might say you want her to speak on the situation, the family stuff with her brother and everything. That's too big for us to get her to speak on.
Right.
And expect her to speak on. That's too deep for all of that stuff, or at least for right now. But for what she really, I think, really needed to speak on right now, in the music capacity of a rollout and the way they were doing it, we got the answers that we needed.
But don't you feel, though, that
Or wanted.
it's going to always be a part of her narrative? Because I feel like
What?
all of this, like,
Yeah.
I feel like, when let's say the record drops and she happens to do promo, whatever, with media or radio. Okay, let's say all of this stuff is, okay, I've spoken on the record, now what? What do you ask her about, right? I think some things
It's
going
going
to
to be her
big.
next relationship. Whoever
beco-
she dates next will be the next thing that we
Okay.
have to all watch. She's 35 years old. Is she going into child mode or not? Now Cardi's 10 years younger than her and has gone that way. You know, there's a lot of her. What's the documentary about? Is she really, really having a record label where people are going to sign and she's really getting behind artists? Because we don't see artists really do that much anymore. Like,
No.
create a record label and get behind it and create a roster, maybe for the fun of what it is, but not really, really. So how much is she going to do that? I think it opens up to a new climate of questions. And now you've got an album rollout. You're all going to be all public. So what are the new elements of all of that?
But I don't think she can be offended if people do ask her about, like, a Meek who, you know, is clearly going through her situations, or Cardi, right? I think that's just also life. And I think sometimes with certain artists, especially really big artists, like, all right, I spoke on the record, now you can't ask me these questions.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't do that. This
And
is
she
part
didn't
of the
speak on
game.
Remy,
Yeah.
right? So she went in on a whole female thing, spoke on forgiving Azalea Banks because Azalea Banks apologized, big her up for the song she had, spoke on a few newer, dropped Malibu Mitch, all that. But definitely Remy was the one who went at her throat, and she completely dismissed that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe she's holding that for the documentary.
She's
or
holding
an
that for the
exclusive.
documentary. She's saying, you're not big enough for me to respond on.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing. She also has to hold something close to the chest. Because if she's like, all right, I spill my guts to this one outlet, when
No,
the
we've
record
got to
drops,
get every
you know.
fashion rollout, the Vogue, the this,
Right.
the interview, the all. I mean, all of the mainstream world of it
Has to
yes.
happen.
I do think that on that album cover, on that single cover, it just doesn't look like her though.
Which
The
one? The
Chun-Li?
Chun-Li
Chun-Li,
one?
Yeah,
right?
I just
Yeah.
don't think Chun-Li looks like her. I don't know why.
It's a bit different, yeah.
Yeah, she looks different than ever to me there, but.
I love Chun-Li. I gotta say that.
Yeah.
Still looking
I
good.
always love Chun-Li.
Oh, okay.
She never aged too.
You talking about Street Fighter
The
Chun-Li?
fictional
dude.
character
Okay.
never
I
aged.
No, you're talking about that's Street Fighter.
Of course, Street Fighter. Come on,
She had
Roger.
the-
I don't play video games. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
wow.
guys.
man.
I don't that much either.
Yeah, but you
Street
bring some
Fighter, bro?
MMA up to Roger.
Right.
Yeah, Conor McGregor.
Regular.
Talk all day.
Okay.
Neither here nor
He
there.
can't do both. All right, so what else do we have this week? I mean, it's been Nicki and Cardi. We'll see Cardi's numbers tomorrow for sure.
What'd you guys think of SNL?
Her like basically
big
the
reveal.
The big reveal.
Where they started with her neck and they slowly panned the camera down.
That's
and you
crazy.
I
saw
didn't see the reveal. I just saw the photos,
bump.
so I never saw how they actually
That's
did
how
the
they
reveal.
did it. Started with just a close up on her
Really?
face, and they slowly panned down. First of all, can we just shout out her wardrobe stylist, who's been putting her in the most
Tense?
like concealing tents for the last
Hell
couple
yeah.
months.
I saw
Did
her
she
for,
have like an album release party last
Yeah.
week and nobody noticed?
I saw her
Sheesh.
literally 1 day before, 2 days before the SNL thing at her listening party, and I was like, oh yeah, she's not pregnant.
Yeah.
Like, she
Looks regular schmegler to us, right? No,
Right.
they did a great job, and I think for her was just also a relief. You know, like you saw her on social media after being like, it's just a relief to finally be able to just be fully out there and not have to constantly conceal it. And she seems genuinely happy. Like for her, this is the time of her life, and
I mean, who's had a better year than her? Like this past 365, who has had she's broken records, she's having a kid.
She's getting shouted
put
out
an
by
album
Green
out.
Day on Twitter. Like it's
Green Day?
literally,
Green Day.
literally Green Day hit her.
But how
like,
much is that trends? Like, there is something like, okay, so she drops an album and everybody talks and says, is it like, this is the cool thing, so let's talk to the cool person right now? There's
100%.
something weird about
100%.
all of that to me, the shout outs from the most obscure people
Oprah.
possible. Yeah, like this, I don't know this. I mean,
Yeah.
y'all didn't care about hip hop before. What the fuck? You only care now because of Cardi B? Like, there's something weird about the Sam
let's take
Smith
it a
and
step-
everybody
let's take
coming
it a
out
step
there.
further.
And I bet you Nicki felt, wow, everybody fucking is on her side, right?
But let's not forget, I remember when Cardi B first dropped, or when Bodak Yellow dropped, and so many men on my timeline were hating on her. That's a stripper. She can't rap, blah, blah, blah. She's only good to take her clothes off. The way that shifted, like, I literally sat back and just watched it and laughed because I'm like, it's everyone, And look, I get it. I'm sure there are people who saw her as a diamond in the rough since day one. And then since then, she's kind of subsequently just pulled in more and more fans. But we're in Cardi fever right now. Yeah. So, like, if you don't fuck with Cardi B, it's almost like you live under a rock. Like, we're at that point now. And to your point, V, I agree 100%. I mean, a lot of that really just is when someone's having a moment. But the flip side, Nicki had her moment. A lot of that comes from being the new kid on the block, right?
Right.
You can only have a debut once.
Hip hop is all about newness and like who's the next person.
100%.
I talked to Wale once and he was saying like hip hop only cares about what's coming next. They don't give the people that are killing it right now their proper due. Or their
They
just
used
shine.
to. Maybe that's, they used to. Come on, somebody would come out with an album and it would be mania for them for the next month and you'd be listening to it and talking about it and the second single and then the third single and then the fourth single and then you'd have the videos to go through. I mean, we don't care about anything beyond a day or two.
Just
Things
a
come
day.
out on a
Right,
Friday.
exactly.
You're already at the weekend. Maybe if an album came out on a Tuesday, it'd at least have the week to go through things
Right.
like it used to. But now the album comes out on a Friday. By Saturday, I don't know about you, we're all on a different planet doing our own thing that doesn't have to do with the 9 to 5 where we're consuming everything normally.
So true.
And so we're completely dismissed over it. So not to say Wale's wrong.
Right.
or anything, but it just seems like, we used to be invested things because they lasted longer.
Right.
One thing I'll
And
say,
social
though,
media wasn't around too.
Yeah.
right? Or the fact that you get the whole album like in one fell swoop, right?
Yeah.
Before you'd get one single, then
Right.
work that single until it was done, introduce the next single. One thing that's interesting to me, Cardi's rollout is very reminiscent of like an old school rollout where you had the record drop kind of off like a mixtape and they worked her project. Like I think her label invested in her, not only from kind of a resource perspective, but even as a label, like the president of the label going on record, calling her the queen of Atlantic Records. Like they worked it really slow and steady. Cause I mean, we all heard that record, like a year ago almost, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And they worked it like slow and steady.
And they put the record on the album so that
Yep.
it automatically is
Went gold.
very accomplished.
You know, and she did every interview. She was on every red carpet. If there was an award show, she was sitting there. The camera would pan to her for all those viral moments. I think she pounded the pavement. She's like, look, this is your door in. You better work now. It isn't drop the record and go into oblivion.
So
Right.
I haven't
Work.
heard anyone labeled as an industry plant like I've heard her lately. What do you guys think about that whole theory?
I mean, I would say that her label heavily invested in her, 100%. But I also think, at least from what I can see, she's there to play ball. Like, some artists aren't, where even the label's like, you're a priority, we want to work with you, and the artist's like, nah, I'm good. Or the artist just drops a record.
No, I mean, what I've heard from people who work with her or the label and such is that she's like, what can I do to make myself better? What did I not get right this time that I could
Wow.
do different? That's, even her tweeting yesterday, like, yesterday, the day before, she tweeted about she has to pay extra money for her, was it the Coachella set, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, and then I think, what's his name? One of them, Deadmau5
Dead
came in,
Mouse,
right?
yeah.
And he kind of threw shade at her
Yeah.
about it. But even with that, she was like, it made me had to go to Wells Fargo. And I was like, funny, I even know what bank she goes to. Like, she's that open that even tweeting about spending the money, it wasn't like, oh, damn, I got to spend all this money. That she was forced to go to Wells Fargo to pay her account.
Wow.
Gives you the visual, and you're like, oh, okay, she banks at Wells Fargo. That was just...
Do you think,
Right.
though, that's strategic, or that just her coming out?
I think that's just her because we saw that prior to the music getting bigger, like her talking on Instagram and talking to,
Right.
Just sharing her life and her stories. And I think that's a big thing for artists nowadays is if you're able to connect with, with people and online users on a social media side of things as opposed to just the music itself.
I think she's exposed, right? I mean, the fact she'll be in an interview, I think it was a GQ interview, she talks openly about her butt implants. And, plastic surgery is something that both men and women in Hollywood get. And it is so hard to find someone who's honest. Like, I got this because I was insecure, or I got this because my ex dated a girl who looked like this. And there's something about that. Yeah.
Speaking on stuff works in her advantage.
Yeah.
She found, I don't think she was always like that. I think she was organically like, I'm open, I speak, I'm on. But then I think she saw it work for her and saw how it was a tool that if she communicated with the people, if she thanked everybody who, gave her, bigged up her for the project, if she, communicated with her fans in a certain degree, I think she realized this works even more. Because if there's one thing she's got going for her, it's her personality, right?
Yeah.
So if you
Huge.
put the two up next to them, there's a very giddy, soft side of Cardi, even though, she's claimed gang affiliation and all of that stuff. There's still a very soft and warm side of her that I don't think we get from Nicki. I think we got a taste of hearing her today when you said there was, kind of shaky in her voice and she seemed like she was being honest about things, but we get that kind of, not genuineness, kind of more openness from Cardi, and she knows how to work it.
Yeah.
Now, as you become, though, it's one thing, right, to be unfiltered when no one kind of cares or you're not famous. Now she's made it, right? So it's now not a question. Cardi B is a celebrity. She's going to start getting those brand deals. She's going to start being in rooms where she'll have to sort of, keep certain things closer to the vest. Do you guys think her personality may change, right? And she's going to lose that kind of unfiltered rawness that we love so much about her.
Like her love for Fashion Nova jeans and all that.
I mean, Fashion Nova, from what I hear, they cut good checks, so that may be there. But I think more so just this idea of...
For her tweeting out loud that I'm stuck in a room and I want to fart and I can't.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's always going to be Cardi.
You think so?
I think that's just Cardi.
Okay. It's not like the industry is going to change her.
No, I don't see her turning into another person. I just think that's Cardi.
I think your biggest change for her, she's about to become a mother.
Yeah.
Right? And not being a mother myself, I don't know how much that really definitely changed you in your career as a celebrity, but I think that's what she's got the successful album behind her. You're dealing with their relationship and what happens there publicly and the fact that how much she's going to change as a person after having a child. And not to say that's not going to make her act the same way or not, but that's the biggest life change I think we're seeing her come up with. And she's now wealthy. She's got endorsement deals. She's a celebrity already. She's hosted The Tonight Show. She's done this. She's done that. So now she's experienced these things now. She's not new to them. Now the new thing is the motherhood role.
Yeah.
And balancing this newfound celebrity with everybody's constant need to know everything about you in your
And
most
just
kind of
waiting.
private and
Yeah.
personal time. That'll be interesting.
It's also interesting, right? Because, before, or even now, for a lot of artists, everything you just named would take a lifetime to accomplish, right? She's been on the cover of every publication almost.
Yeah, but we're jumping
No
on the
to man.
bandwagon as a
Right.
society when it comes to celebrities in general. So, I mean...
But do we fear she may crash and burn? Because this is something people take their whole lifetime to accomplish, everything she's done. What's really next for you? I mean,
Right.
have you peaked at 25? See, that's my only fear is at a time when, and we've seen this, across the board where sometimes someone becomes the hottest thing, and if they falter once or they get in trouble, everyone abandons them. And what does that look like, right? Because I also think, and again, I've never met her, so I'm just speculating, but she seems like a sensitive person. I don't know if she could handle what that backlash looks like.
I mean,
they build you up. The faster they build you up, the faster people want to see you fall.
That's true. But I mean, at the same time, I think like she's already shown that she's so much more than music.
Okay.
People are invested in her personal brand.
But what does that mean? That means if you're not making music, what is she, a host of
She could
things?
do
I don't see her
reality
going into
TV, I
acting.
guess.
She's already done reality TV. So are we looking at the first year of being a mom reality show?
I would
like
say an
what?
Offset wedding special for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So
definitely,
you
like,
think they're going to make it to the
television.
altar?
I hope so for her brand. I think it would be great to see a wedding, a wedding planning, then the wedding and the honeymoon. Like we could turn that into like 5 seasons right there of reality TV.
Yeah.
Right, but I could definitely see her in acting. I could see her in fashion. She's just such a personality that people, I think,
Like it's a fun character to have around.
But that's my
Exactly.
thing is she feels so much of that she's such an individual, right? She's so much not her own character. I don't know how that person is anything but themselves to get
Right,
into
right.
acting. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
yeah.
That's to me the
She'll play
biggest win
herself.
with her is
She'll
her
just
being
play
Yeah,
herself.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just
That's
play
true.
a girl from the Bronx.
But even
Yeah.
like Nicki, not to compare them again, but like Nicki went into acting and you can argue she's so zany and like, she has her own like, you think Nicki, crazy voices and all that stuff. And, we've
But
seen
see,
her
I think
switch it up.
Nicki's a little different because, remember, she went to LaGuardia. She went to performing arts high
True.
school.
That's true.
This is someone who has been trained in acting and singing and performing. And one thing about Nicki, especially when she first came out, I'm sure a lot of you remember the comparisons to Gaga. Because
True.
they
Yeah.
were
Yep.
very similar, were these super talented young women from New
And the
York.
outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having just sort of this idea of a split personality, right? Whether it be Roman or, in the case of Gaga, the Stephanie, the performer, became Lady Gaga. So I think with Nicki, we know Nicki Minaj, but I do think there's a person behind that we don't know. Whereas with Cardi, I think Cardi B is Cardi B.
I'm with you. I think we
You
know
know?
Cardi and we don't know Nicki.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I'm kind of okay with that because I think, again, Nicki is, from just how she came up in the game and seeing kind of the highs and lows, I think she wants to keep some things private. I could see her, having a kid and us never knowing about it.
Right.
Like she leaves
Ever?
for 9 months, comes back and it's like, oh, I'm a mom. And we're like, how did that happen? Because I think she knows, like when you're in a public relationship, what that means. I could see her wanting
She's
to
also
keep
been a
certain things
celebrity a lot
private.
longer to get to the point where you're like, I don't want to deal with this shit. I don't have to
Totally.
tell everybody everything. Where Cardi's still in the,
It's new.
what's it called? Newlywed days of the whole thing. Yeah.
And again, like JFK was saying, Cardi B, a lot of it is we're buying into her as a personality.
Yeah.
With Nicki, I think who she is at home, none of us know who that person is. And I think with Cardi, at least by and large, presuming what she puts on social media is accurate, we sort of know who she is behind the scenes. So there's something very fresh and refreshing about that authenticity. But what's scary about it, when you give all of yourself to the public, like what's left for you. I don't know.
I just don't think people should forget what she's accomplished. And I think for some reason there's something, it's like we're acting like they're both, she's a newbie too. Like there's a history of what she's accomplished. Let's not forget the Monsterverse,
Exactly.
and I think that becomes a thing that's weird. It's like, I don't understand why, and maybe this podcast topic is the problem. I'm not sure, but why they both can't succeed without it being them. Like it's not,
competition, yeah.
Nicki and Kim. Sorry, is it Nicki? Nicki and Cardi, not Nicki versus Cardi.
I mean, one thing I'll say,
when I don't know if the accomplishments are even equal enough for even to compare them,
not there yet.
but yet we're acting like they're equals. And
But
I don't
here's
think
the other
that's fair.
part. A lot of it, though, comes from Nicki, right? If Nicki Minaj, any interview or any reference to Cardi, she's like, I support her. That's so great to see a young woman coming up. Anything she needs from me, I'm open. That would help change the narrative. Oftentimes artists blame the media. They blame social media, fans. You guys pit us against each other. And there's a certain part of that, of course. But a lot of times the artists themselves, if you were mentoring, if you pull people under your wing, you were nice to them, people can't talk shit about you. Like, that was one thing I'll say. You know, I really would love to see Nicki, and again, if she has to express how she feels, but for her to be like, I love all the new female rappers. I support them. The same way, do you think Beyonce is concerned about, like, who's the hottest new R&B singer? No, she's Beyonce. And if anything, if you're smart, she's Beyonce.
No, she's Beyonce.
You know, and it behooves you to mentor that next generation. And that's one thing I'd like to see. I mean, you see it with a lot of artists where they get almost, I guess, insecure when a new, younger, you know, hotter person comes around. Why? Take your seat at the throne of OGs. Like, I want to see Nicki be that person where she's just comfortable in her skin. So when people ask her about whoever the newest artist is, but I support that person. I mentor them. If she needs something, I'm sure, you know, more women banded together help change the narrative. But a lot of that comes from the artist too. Clearly from this interview, Nicki feels some kind of way.
Yeah.
And you drop records where you're talking about, you know, I'm the queen, you need to bow down. So she's also circulating the narrative. So I also don't think it's fair to say just the media and the fans, it's on us. That's also being pushed by her and her team.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
If she dropped like another ladies' night, which would be fire, by the way, to me, that's how you close the critics. All of us women get along. It's you guys who think that we don't fuck with each other. We're homies, you know, or at least professional friends. But I think it's that. Like, that's the way you quash the beef. Like, let's see you guys hanging out. Let's see you jumping on each other's records.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So that's the thing. If the artists are like, look, we don't fuck with each other, people can, like, smell that from a mile away. So when we question you about it, it can't be.
She dropped her song on the girls' week of her solo debut album. Like, everything about the days that it comes out, the week, everything about it being social yesterday, today is aggressive and, you know, punch you in the face going out there and kicking for swinging first. I'm all with it. I like it, but let's not acknowledge it for what it is, you know?
She knew what she was doing.
Oh, 100%.
She knew everything that she was doing.
She didn't just know what she was doing. She, you know, was the architect for the whole thing, the plan. She sat there. She knew what was going on. She knew if she was pregnant before we did because she had friends with rumors that could tell us more than everybody, tell her more than everybody else. Whatever she's planned and plotted and lined up there and that we don't know that's in store already is completely mapped out.
He's back.
But that's part of being a celebrity. Sometimes it's not just your performance, it's your rollout.
And look, some people want to sort of be friends with everyone and sort of have a big network, and other people are like, no, there can only be one queen, and I'm going to destroy everyone on my way to that title. So she's entitled to that. If that's what she wants and she's willing to destroy everyone around her, I'm here for it.
We got your back, Nicki.
That was Jabari, by the way.
All right, we could go into little young M.A. and her, you know, self-directed porn or the porn that she directed, but I feel like that doesn't fit in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
You know? Anything
happened,
else
though.
you guys are saying? That did happen,
She's
though.
making power moves on the side.
Hey, good for her. Good for her. Following Uncle Luke, following Snoop. Like, porn money is good money.
I feel like she's
know?
found her calling too, though.
I mean, I didn't watch it, JFK. Did you?
Did
Can you
you?
give us some like
I
insight?
will not
Did you watch
confirm
Did you
nor
watch it?
deny. I will neither confirm nor deny.
I watched
but
a little, and I don't think the acting was that amazing.
Was she in the video at least, or no?
But I saw she wasn't in, but I didn't
Okay.
see the
I mean,
whole
what was
thing.
the plot line? Can you give us, like, without spoiling too
Yeah.
much of it?
I didn't watch enough for that.
Oh, wow, okay.
I didn't
Well,
get that
no
intense.
spoilers.
no spoilers, but hopefully
But I
there's,
heard it was
you know-
softcore porn.
There were women in it.
Really?
Yeah, which I don't really
That's
know
kind of a-
what does that mean.
The
Disappointment.
Playboy porn?
Yeah, it sounds like Playboy.
So they're not touching to each other, or they are?
It's
All right,
just
we'll yeah.
gentle porn.
Okay, so Roger doesn't know Street Fighter, but he knows gentle porn. I just want to go on the record with his predilections. But no, you know what? For someone like young M.A., she's a great example, though, what we talked about before. When that one record came out, she became like the biggest
Huge,
female
yeah.
artist, weirdly also from New York. So it's kind of interesting that we have all, you know, women artists from New York. And when she didn't follow that up with another kind of big moment.
Yeah, but if we just back it up, then you got Foxy from New York, Kim from New York, E from Philly, Lauren from Jersey. I mean, tri-state area represents,
Yeah.
right?
Queen
For
Latifah
females,
was
Queen
one of them.
Latifah. Yeah.
Yeah. Roxanne Shante.
Okay.
That was a great Netflix
I mean, that really
show,
is
by the way,
interesting.
if
Where's the
anyone saw it.
Southern female rapper at that level?
Mia X.
Gangsta
Trina?
Boo.
Oh, Trina.
Yeah.
Trina.
I don't think they're at the same level, though. All right. Anything else you guys thinking about Nicki and Cardi and females and
I'm just
She
looking
gave a lot of love to Foxy.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to watching this play out. You know, especially watching Nicki's moves and seeing what's.
I mean,
happen.
what do you get? You gotta get music videos next, right? She's gonna be totally in like
videos.
black leather, sexed out, really good looking music videos, right? All sexy, and that's what we're getting next. 2 music videos and with high budget values and blah blah blah. And then we got to get a release date for the album, right? And then the album's got to come up, and it's got to be as strong as anything else. The 2 songs and anything else she leaks. And
Right.
if she's
What's her
and she's
third
got
record
crush,
gonna
so
be,
She
Thug?
stumbled.
with Young Thug, yeah.
Yeah, the 3rd record's with Thug.
But he needs a little bit of a push there too, you know. So I mean, hopefully they can both get
But see, I
themselves
feel
at
he's
another
just
level.
pulling
with
in
it.
that Camila Cabello check for Havana, and he's good.
Oh,
Like, if I'm Thug, I'm like, I'm not dropping anything.
True.
'cause
You mean
I just-
Sex? That's
Sex.
his name.
That's his name, Sex.
Oh,
or
sorry.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. I call him Jeffrey.
Jeffrey's Sex Thug. I don't know.
Yes, so Mr. Sex Thug. Yeah, I think a guy like him weirdly, you know, has moved into that space where he's getting those checks, so he's not even concerned, you know?
I'm fascinated by how much his girlfriend comments on Nicki's photos, and I'm
Really?
totally interested in totally stupidly interested in the relationship between Jerica and Nicki because they've definitely buddies. From what you
Wow.
can see, the amount of comments going on there. So I'm fascinated by this relationship.
Well, also
I don't
just
think anybody
Nicki,
else is.
insofar as, you know, image has been very much kind of a trailblazer. I mean, a lot of her outfits, like you mentioned, now probably are sold on Fashion Nova. And
Yeah.
she mentioned Tokyo, who does her
Are you
hair,
getting
now
checks from
does
Fashion Nova,
Cardi's.
you guys? What's up with the name drop?
Can we get Fashion Nova to sponsor this podcast? That would be amazing.
Facts.
But also, you know, she mentioned like how Tokyo does her hair, now is doing Cardi's hair. I mean, you know, Nicki knows how to have like that image, and she's also shown different looks over the years. I'd love to see what this next iteration is just in her look. Like, she's gonna go more natural, more glam. Like, what are we gonna see from her? She always does kind of interesting things in the fashion and
Yeah.
beauty space, which to me is interesting. You
And
know,
she-
That stuff bores me.
really?
Totally. I don't
I
care
love
about
it.
your perfume,
I
your
spent a lot of time at
eyeshadow,
Sephora,
your
so-
so and so, whatever. I
I
just
do.
want to.
I
like these
do.
aggressive moments.
I love it.
Like I'm gonna drop
But
in
see,
your
you can
week.
be aggressive and have a good lip on. Do you know what I mean? It's
I just
not like
don't care about
mutually exclusive.
It could look good, but I don't want to.
You know?
I don't really care how you did it.
And I mean, she did
you
say
had a makeup
also.
stylist and all that. Somebody's doing it for you. But I will say, when we did our 20th anniversary shoot with Nicki this past summer, we were in her dressing room and she had such beautiful jewelry. I just remember,
Wow.
such nice jewelry.
Wow. Was there a security guard there making sure that V wasn't like, you know, 5-finger discounting any of the stuff?
We would never 5-finger discount,
Okay.
so screw you, Sowmya. Okay.
Is that called a threat? Is that slander?
We already talking about
I'm
Nicki and
playing.
Cardi. Like,
Yeah.
come on, y'all.
Guys, see, you can't put two
Keep the
women in a
peace.
room together. Meanwhile, the guys are watching softcore porn and talking about Street Fighter. This is life. But no, I think that's the thing with Nicki's, because her brand touches all different touch points. It's music is a part of it, but she makes so much money doing other things.
Yeah.
What is she in, like a Mercedes-Benz commercial? Like,
Recently, yeah. that
yeah,
came out.
like she's doing things that even like, you know, male artists would kill to do. Like those checks are kind of out of control. But again, to me, the big takeaway that was crazy was for Drake to drop the day Cardi dropped, then Nicki following up. Like, I want to see like a
Did
resurgence.
they talk about it? Like, what was the
100%.
conversation
Right.
they
Had
had?
to
You'd
be.
be like,
Had
I
to
got
be.
her on Friday. You getting her? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like,
There has to be.
can we say that? We can't really say it, but is Drake completely Team Nicki after trying to drop on Friday? All of that now.
He better be
like,
Team
you know,
Nicki.
it's
Right.
Yeah.
Loyalty, you know, like he has to be. Like, I just, in my mind, I'm picturing this great group text of them all just going back and forth about their crazy evil plans.
With fire emojis.
That's
I want to
my
be on that
conspiracy.
text chain.
But what I want to know, so, you know, after today's interview, does that mean that Birdman and Wayne's beef is quashed? I mean,
Well, it's supposed to be a few weeks ago.
so they are totally good.
Yeah, they've
even
been
though they
taking
were on
pictures
separate
of each
calls?
other's. They were. I mean, who's to say they're in the same place, right? So they
Right.
called in. Who's to, you know, at the same time if they're not in
I
the
think
same
Birdman
state?
was FaceTime and Wayne called from the sound I could hear in the interview.
I didn't listen to it like that to
Okay.
know if it was FaceTime versus. But I'm impressed
Yeah.
that you could tell the difference between
Right.
FaceTime
Yeah.
and audio time.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. I mean, who knows what their relationship's really like, right?
Yeah.
They're obviously back together. They make money and do best that way. So they've been able to get back over the hump to get there. But if you have beef like that over the years, you can't just put it all behind you. So there's an interesting dynamic there. And then I wouldn't read too much into it that they weren't there together, because I think it's whoever was calling it at that time. Like, she literally was like, I'm surprised Wayne's awake at this time.
Right. Yeah.
And whenever we did Wayne shoots, it was not earlier in the day.
Okay.
Over the years.
Good for Wayne for being.
So what's it called? So that scheduling is always interesting with Wayne.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming getting him to call in and getting Birdman to call in back to back. I mean, this was a production. This was
It was
Apple,
very well
Republic,
planned.
Yep.
blah, blah, blah production for them to line up to them to call and have everything planned out and what she was going to speak about. And maybe there were certain things she wouldn't speak about that they were told that they couldn't ask her about. But whatever it is, that was a completely planned thing and handled very well. There's nothing wrong with planned.
But
Planned is
question,
good.
wasn't Nikki an owner of Tidal?
I remember
think
her
she
saying
came
it
out
on
in that
stage.
lineup.
I
Yeah.
sold out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think she dipped out a while ago.
Oh, she did. Okay.
I mean, the whole Cash Money thing seems to be affiliated with Apple, right? You got the
Right.
Cash Money documentary. You got Drake over there hard. So you would think that the relationship with Cash Money and Apple was pretty thick, and
Yeah.
she's going that way. But she's also got the Spotify relationship. So,
Yeah.
just not playing the title.
and it could
lane
just
right
be
now.
whoever gives you the biggest check, right?
Gotta get all the bags.
Yeah, I'm sure Apple helped, if not pay for the documentary, heavily subsidized it. Like, there's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that I think people, the everyday fan, doesn't see.
Without a doubt.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
none of this stuff just happens.
Right.
Many conversations took place, and again, the fact Jimmy Iovine has heard the whole record says something to me that there's other players in the fold.
Why would he hear the whole record? That's Apple. That's not even the label. So that's interesting.
Exactly.
All right.
So we're looking
That's
forward
all
to
we
it.
got.
Nicki Minaj, 2018.
Yeah, baby.
Queens.
Well, also Cardi Baby, 2018.
Oh,
Cardi
Verbal,
also
new baby.
2018. 2018. Drop in 2018.
When is she due, by the way?
I have no idea.
How many months is she? She hasn't said it?
Unclear.
I heard a few different things, but I don't know I don't know enough about babies to know. Well, she looks like
She
she's
looks
that far
about 5.
along.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't really know.
So maybe in like a few more months.
Summertime.
I mean, does she go to Summer Jam? Meanwhile, why am I asking that? Because so many people have asked me that question. And I'm like,
Wow.
why is everybody asking me this question? But does she come out 8 months pregnant at Summer Jam?
It's
mean,
like you feel like she should because it's like
New York?
she's
New
the
York.
biggest New York right
Yeah.
now. But it's, I mean,
Maybe
8
she
months
should just
though.
show up and do the pageant wave,
Sit
like
on
not
a chair.
actually.
Yeah.
Or you make Nikki the
Yeah.
headliner to get the city back and to get all that, and she closes the show out.
Ooh.
All right, on that note, let's wait and see what happens. So, anything else you can think of?
No.
All right, well, we're signing off. It's Vanessa, Editor-in-Chief XXL, signing off. We got the crew, Moments of Clarity, episode 7, and then
In the books.
check for Sowmya's Shot Caller series, podcast series, also on XXL, and that's it.
Be back next week.